Alrighty, so tonight, or this week I should say, we are taking a look at chapter 7, and more specifically, we're looking at pages 310 to 313. So if you can't read that on the board, it says 310 to 313. And we are working with solving equations using multiplication and division. Last week, we worked on solving equations with addition and subtraction. I'm going to show you one review problem just to refresh your memory from last week. So here's our review problem. X plus 4 equals 12. When we were working with algebra tiles, if we had 4 tiles, then we had to add 4 negatives or subtract 4 to get rid of this. Okay, so if we're adding, we do the opposite, which is taking away 4. And what that does is that cancels those out. So no longer do I have that plus 4, this negative 4 takes it out. So I'm left with x, and x equals what? Well, anything I do to one side, I do to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 4, and we get x equals 8. So just a quick review for you. All right. Now moving on to our new topic, and that's going to be solving using multiplication and division. And we're solving equations. All right. So here's example 1. We have w divided by 4 equals 12. So just like we did in this problem, we were working with addition, so we use subtraction to cancel that out. If we have division in our problem, that fraction bar, we've been saying since the beginning of the year, equals division, right? So w divided by 4. What's the opposite of division? The opposite of division is multiplication. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to erase this so we have some space, is we're actually going to multiply by 4. And what that's going to do, it looks like it's hard to see on your video, so let me change that. We're going to multiply by 4. And what that's going to do is that's going to cancel out this 4, okay? And what we're left with is w. Now, I erased the equal sign, but it was equals 12. Just like I did with my example up here, I multiplied by 4, so I'm going to multiply by 4 over here. And we know that 12 times 4 equals 48. All right? And I could plug w in. So when I do 48 divided by 4, I get 12. That's how I check my answer. I know I'm correct. All right? So for example 2, I'm going to show you an easier version, and then we're going to kick it up with fractions a little bit. All right? So here we have 2 times x equals 6. Mentally, we know that 2 times 3 equals 6, so we could solve that. But when we get to fractions or something a little bit harder, you're going to see why we need to know inverse operations to solve, okay? So here we go. Think about what Mr. Costle's been saying. If we have 2 times, we're going to use division. So if we divide by 2, 2 out of 2 gives me 1x, which is my goal. Well, if I put... Oh, I'm sorry. If I do 6 divided by 2, I get x equals 3. Let's go back and plug 3 in. 2 times 3 does equal 6, and we know that. All right? Now, let's see why it's important to have an understanding. Because we don't have this easy version. Now we have this. X times, we'll say, 2 sevenths. All right, so we have 2 sevenths times x equals 6. In order to solve this, the opposite of multiplication is division. So we would divide by 2 sevenths. Because we're working with fractions, now pay attention very closely. Because it's 2 sevenths divided by 2 sevenths, we know from earlier in the year that we need to keep, change, and flip. So I'm going to do that. And instead of division, it's going to be 2 sevenths times 7 over 2. All right? 2 times 7 is 14. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 out of 14 is 1. So I'm left with just x. Great, that's my goal. These cancel each other out. I'm done with those. But anything I do on one side, I have to do the other side. So I'm going to multiply 6 by 7 over 2. and multiply straight across. 7 times 6 is 42. 1 times 2 is 2. And then 42 divided by 2 equals 21. So x equals 21. All right? If I were to multiply 21 by 2/7, I would get 6. So that's the way I could check my answer and know that I'm correct. Alrighty, try some problems on your own. Have a great night.